Sanghaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Namo.
Namo Namo.
Om.
Om.
Ah.
Ah.
Ho.
Ho.
So a very warm welcome back if you're just joining us. So here we are for part 2 of our Dharma Day celebration. So if you're tuning in after the event, do check out part 1 with some great talks by Paramabandhu and the 3 Mitras to be. But otherwise, great to have you here. Do say hi in the chat room. So we enter the part of the evening or part of the event whereby we're going to witness and celebrate these 3 people becoming Mitras. I'm just going to say a little bit about what that is and also a bit about the ceremony itself before we get started. And then we'll hear from our 2 Mitra conveners, Amara Pushpa and Mitra, who are going to say a little bit more about the 3 Mitras to be this afternoon or this evening. Yes, as in part 1, Paramabandhu was talking about what it is to make a commitment to a spiritual organisation or a spiritual path of spiritual tradition. And in our tradition, we call this, at least the first step, is becoming what we call a Mitra. So a Mitra is just a Sanskrit word which means friend. So basically, they're becoming a friend of our movement, our tradition. That has all the connotations of effectively we're being part of our community. So really what we are at heart is not an organisation or a set of teachings or anything. We're mainly a group of individuals, a group of practitioners that are embarking on a journey together to the best of our ability, grow and develop and bring hopefully the qualities of kindness, care and love into the world as far as we're able to do. So these 3 individuals, Francis, Jack and Laura, have asked to participate in that, to join our community formally. And as Paramabandhu was saying, the 3 aspects of that are that they feel that they are Buddhists. They want to describe themselves as a Buddhist. So they feel that the principles of Buddhism kind of align with their own values and their own way of seeing the world. That they want to practice ethical action, skillful action, so trying to live accordance to the Buddhist ethical principles. And of course they are training principles. We don't always get it right. They're not like rules, but we, to the best of our ability, live according to those good ethical principles. And also that in this particular instance that they've decided that they want to practice within the tradition of the Triratna Buddhist community. So as I said before, there are many paths, there are many Buddhist traditions which also probably suit certain people in certain different ways. But for these 3 people, they're saying today that they've done enough shopping around, to whatever degree that is for them, and that they feel an affinity for this community, to this path, at least for the foreseeable future. Of course, there is always going back, but for the time being, they want to practice within this community, this spiritual tradition. So that's the what becoming a Mitra is for them. And again, it's a personal declaration or a personal expression, but one which is witnessed by the community. So we're here in a way, the collective us, the few of us in the room, and the more the people that are watching at home are here to witness you taking that personal step. And how that's done is that will happen in the course of a 7-fold puja. It's a very traditional ritual which we do as Buddhists, and that's mainly done in call and response. So I'll just lead us through, and if you want to, you can join in. And if you're tuning in at home, I'd really encourage you to join in with that as well. So you might want to set your laptop up in front of your shrine and participate with the puja as we're going to do it. And during the course of that, there will be the Mitra ceremonies, and what I'll invite the Mitras to come up one by one. And there's 3 offerings available for them here, 3 traditional offerings: a flower, a candle, and some incense. And they'll come up one by one and take an offering one by one. And there's a flower, take the flower off the table, and there's a little vase for the flower that they can put the flower in. The candle, there's a bowl of sand that they can put the candle in, and there's some incense so they can light the incense and light the candle, of course, and put that in the bowl as well. And those three offerings represent the ceremony, the very simple ceremony, after which point after they've made those offerings, they've effectively become a Mitra of the True Vata Buddhist community. And I'll just say a bit about what those offerings represent. In the flower, you've particularly got beauty, the beauty of impermanence particularly. Flowers are very beautiful, but in not so long they'll be wilted and they'll be dying. And that just represents, in a certain way, the truth of impermanence, the perception of the reality as we experience things, that things arise and pass, and that is an inevitability. The candle representing the light of particularly the Buddha as an example or as an ideal, but particularly the light of awareness, the light of understanding, the light of seeing things in a new way. And the incense representing the Sangha or the community, the way that the incense perfumes the room. It's the same way a collective of spiritual practitioners will perfume the environment that they're in. So there are three traditional offerings. And we'll have some mantras during the course of this ritual. So because of the way that the recommendations are at the moment, we're not going to chant those particularly loudly here. We're going to do them in spoken volume, spoken level. But we'll mainly be having those as recordings. So two very beautiful mantras. The first one we're going to have is a bodhicitta mantra that was done by a collection of several hundred order members on an order convention. So it's a really beautiful three-part mantra. And for me, that really symbolizes our community, our spiritual tradition as a whole, that gathering of significant numbers of committed individuals. And of course, the bodhicitta is the arising of the will to enlightenment. So that urge, that impulse to want to understand, want to grow, want to develop. So we're going to have that mantra as a recording. And then towards the end, just to say that anybody can make an offering to the shrine during that mantra if you want. So we'll come up one by one and conform to social distancing. If you're here, you can also make a mantra at home. You probably don't need to do so much social distancing at home. But we'll come up, if you want to, you're invited to make an offering, a candle offering to the shrine during that mantra. That's the first mantra. And then we'll also, towards the end, we'll have a second mantra as well, and this will be the Padmasambhava mantra, sung very beautifully by two women in Mexico from the Mexico Sangha. Really beautiful, really beautiful. It's only short, so we'll listen to the entirety of that. And then, of course, as normal, we'll have a reading as well. So Daisy May has very kindly offered to do that reading at the appropriate point. So I will let you know when that is, Daisy. So we'll have that as well. And then towards the end of the puja, after we've completed the mantras, closing mantras, and so on, we'll just sit quietly with everybody. We'll let the Mitras to be absorb the atmosphere of that. Let the closing mantras die down, and we'll just sit with them for maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and then we will give them gifts and celebrate them. So that's the rough running order. Basically, I will explain everything, so you don't need to worry about anything. I'll just talk us all through. But all you need to know is there's some offerings, some mantras, some ceremonies, and so on. So hopefully, whether you're here today or tuning in on the live stream, you'll be able to participate in this. To my mind, the first of its kind, certainly at Brixton, the first hybrid Mitra ceremony, hybrid puja. So anyway, I'm very excited about that. So just checking that I haven't missed anything. Okay, so I'm going to invite the Mitra conveners up in a moment just to say something, but also there'll be an opportunity for you at home to rejoice in the Mitras to be if you want. So if you've got any words of appreciation or rejoicings or celebrations you'd like me to mention to them right here and there, you can say in the chat room, just drop a few comments in there, and after the Mitra conveners have said something, I will also translate? Not quite translate. I will take it from the chat room and say it out into the room. I'm sure there's a better way of saying that, but anyway, there we go. So I'm going to invite Amra Pushpa to come up first of all to introduce the two women, so Laura and Frances.
Okay, So it's wonderful to be here in person for this very special Mitra ceremonies. I mean, as a Mitra convener, I have been one for about 8 or 9 years now. I have witnessed many, and I became a Mitra probably in the mid-90s, for a very long time. So I've been to many Mitra ceremonies, and they're always wonderful to me, and they're always unique. And there's always something, I just feel, that opens up in the universe around people taking this very special step of deepening their spiritual practice or putting their energies behind their ideals. So there's some kind of energy, I just feel, that's with us right now. And today's a very particularly special because we're doing it in this unique hybrid way. We gave the Mitras an extra daunting task to give 5-minute talks, which we don't usually do. And usually what I do is I ask the Mitras to reflect on the steps along their way in their lives, the milestones that they think might have led them to take this important step. And it's been very moving and inspiring. I've had Francis's and Laura's reflections for the last couple of days. And I've just been sitting and taking them both in and their lives. And I just wanted to draw out, well, as they, I think at least one of them said, there are some similarities or resonances in some of the trajectories. And it's very interesting that somehow circumstances resulted in you both becoming Mitras together, and you're both in the same study group as well, which I just think is really a wonderful connection. But yeah, reflecting on this a certain trajectory of, I guess, very strong spiritual qualities I think you've both exemplified through your lives, and I think a certain strengths. You both had these upbringings immersed in religious families and immersed in a sense that there's something bigger than the conventional, more tangible, so-called tangible reality. And I guess you both kind of drifted away, you know, as teenagers do. You were in your family conditioning, this was your family's religion, but as teenagers do, you started exploring for yourselves. And I think as part of that, another strong spiritual quality seemed to manifest in both of you. It's just as a strong altruistic desire to benefit people in the world. And so you both, in your different ways, went out into the world and with a great sense, I mean, I get a sense of courage and a sense of adventure, and also, yeah, a desire to bring something, to benefit, to do something that is beneficial to others in the world. And I was also struck with both of you, you know, you went from particular conditioning to, I guess, a very broad, very broad, very rich experience of being in many different countries and cultures, and situations of very intense suffering, poverty, inequality. And I think with both, there was a sense of being, you know, a bit out to sea or overwhelmed by what you saw. And but that, there wasn't only that, there's just life's distractions and pleasures and all the many choices you start having when you start maturing and going out into the world. And I just sense in both a sense of, you know, deep reflection every step of the way. Okay, you sort of spin off in different directions, but there is also a coming back and reflecting and, you know, wanting to find a sense of meaning and direction in it, and perhaps a sense of groundedness. And it's interesting, I think you both, in reading your reflections, you both found something that grounded you both externally and internally. Frances hasn't mentioned her movement towards academia. So when she came back to the UK after a number of years abroad, she got very interested in geopolitics and did a master's degree, and she found that really grounding and gave her much more perspective of that very rich experience she'd had in her life. And Laura just went more deeply into her own experience as a woman in the world and a sense of what that experience was, and found a lot of inspiration in bringing that in her direction in the work she did in her life. And then internally, there was, for both of you, a draw to meditation, and that's been going on for quite some time. And yeah, very interesting too that you both had been to a good number of retreats on and off, in recent years. There was a sense of a dripping of something going deeper, and a deeper receptivity. And the sense I had was you both got a tremendous amount from your I guess your vocations. I think there's a sense of vocation in what you both do, but also the retreats and meditation and how you were growing. But there's a sense that you were missing something, and I feel like that magical word Mitra needs to come in here, because Mitra literally means friend, friendship. And as the Buddha said, friendship is the whole of the spiritual life. So this sense I had in both of you, the privilege of getting to know both of you, this yearning for that kind of spiritual friendship. And I wanted to rejoice in each of you too, that it's not that you didn't have friends. In just the times we've met up, I've had a real sense when you would talk, each of you, when you talk about friends, that you're both really good friends, but that there's this added dimension of friendship with people who shared your values, and a sense of, wanting to, and finding a sense of community and fellowship and solidarity with people in the Brixton Sangha. And of course, you both joined the study group that both Daisy and Charlotte, who are both here, belong to. So I just feel it's a very beautiful story in both of you, this trajectory of integration, of spiritual maturing. And I think in taking this step, I just feel this will really give this boost of confidence to faith, and I guess bring more of your energies together behind what's at the core, what's most meaningful to you. And certainly in the context of devotion to the three jewels, and I include Jack in that too. I'm sorry to sort of go back and forth, but I very much include Jack in that, taking that step. And individually, I just wanted to individually rejoice in, I'm getting to know you both, but very much look forward to knowing that we'll be around together longer in this context. But with Laura, I really get a real sense of integrity, a sense of, well, perhaps, sense of groundedness that comes across that perhaps could be because you have been meditating for quite some time, and, this calm you started noticing coming right away, and it's real mature facing in to very, very, very down-to-earth quality. I really appreciate. And with Frances, I've really I think you've talked about, when you're younger, sensitivity being a kind of liability in some ways, maybe throwing you off balance. But, as you've matured, the sensitivity, I can see, has made you, very receptive, which is a very beautiful spiritual quality. And I get a sense you really bring that into your meditation practice, and you bring it into the study group. And, and this imagination, of your upbringing, it starts, as we get to know you, it starts coming out in very magical ways. So, sadhu to all three of you. And I'll turn it over to Viranaga and people writing in. And hello everybody too. It's really nice to hear all those names being shouted out.
Great.
So,
Thank you, Pushpa. Yeah, so quite a few. I'll invite Mitra to come up and get settled. But in the meanwhile, there's quite a few just general rejoicings from quite a lot of people. Lisa, Matt, Pam, Vajratara, Alex, Panumi, David, and so on. They're all rejoicing in all three of you. Francis, there's a couple here particularly. Fred is rejoicing in your intelligence. Fred Radley from North London, and also you've got Sangamani as well. She says, Francis, I rejoice in your integrity, wish to ease suffering in the world, and longing for authentic freedom of heart. So yeah. Okay, so keep your and Graham's also rejoicing in your thoughtfulness as well, Francis. Yeah. So keep if you're at home, keep the rejoicings coming in. I'll keep on chipping them in as long as the battery lasts on the iPad. So over to Machinara for Jack.
Thanks, Viranaga. Wonderful to hear more about Francis and Laura from Pushpa. Really nice to hear all your talks as well, and just to bring yourself in more and more fully. And I'm here particularly to talk about my good friend Jack. So I'll give a little bit of a background about Jack. So Jack grew up in Wales, rural Wales, and he had got two brothers and a sister, and this is where he's just been spending the lockdown. So he's only just come back to us in London in the last week or so, and he spent the lockdown also with his wonderful partner Poppy, who I'm really, really pleased is here with us today as well. So she's had to navigate rural Wales for 3 months, but she's told me that was a real joy. So yeah, growing up in rural Wales, I think, so with a very strong kind of family background, Jack decided to, that he was his passion was to be an actor. And he, with his customary kind of enthusiasm and integrity, I think he kind of really launched himself into that endeavour, and found himself in a very prestigious acting school, just kind of put himself into that very fully. Everybody knows Jack knows he puts himself into things very fully. And then I think towards the end of that 3 years, I think it was a 3-year course, there was a kind of maybe a rupturing kind of faith as to that was the thing that he really wanted to see out in his life. So it was quite interesting. Really kind of I remember Jack talking about this in our study, but really getting pushed and pulled about the whether to commit to that path or not, of acting, and what it would take of him. So he decided not to do that, and it came to London. And here in London, he's been pursuing a career as a sound designer and also teaching the guitar. And I first encountered Jack in our space in Yoga Point. Very kind of, I just remember this very kind of eager kind of person that was suddenly there, kind of like taking it all in. And very quickly, kind of like he's kind of thrown himself in to the community, and really helping. His own understanding, his understanding of what's going on, but also really helping the situation, the Brixton Buddhist community to thrive, with particularly his engagement on Monday night team. So, just go back a moment. I mean, Jack was interested in philosophy, interested in finding the truth quite early on. I remember in his bio, he's talked about reading Eckhart Tolle and kind of trying to elucidate his ideas to his friends, which might have been a bit bamboozled. I don't know how they were taking it, but they probably accommodated that. But it doesn't seem to have ever been quite enough for Jack, and I think Jack's now. I've really seen Jack close up from his engagement in our study group. So it's been a year and a half in our study. We study every week. We meet up and study the Dharma with the same guys, and it's been. I think it's been. It's been a real voyage for Jack. I think he's seen the benefit of discussing the Dharma, working with the Dharma, bringing it in his own life, and bringing that as a kind of touchstone. And that's what he kind of works off of, the experience of his own life. He's very, very honest and open about that. And then doing it with other people. So doing it with other people. And he said in his bio that maybe what those friends were bamboozled with was that he thought he might be able to do it alone. So that so maybe they'll be clearer now that it's something that's done in collaboration with other people. So Jack has got many, many, very wonderful kind of sparkling qualities, and I'd like to try to bring a couple of those to life. So the first, I think, is that Jack is very clear. He's a very clear thinker. I have to bring his age in here. He's 26, I believe, unless you had a birthday since I last saw you. He's 26. People keep marvelling at his ability to follow a train of thought, and his commitment to kind of staying mindful to what's happening in his experience, and trying to find the truth in life and in his experience. He's very, very determined to do that, and he has a real strength of clarity in the way that he expresses himself. I know something's coming because Jack goes. Me too. So and then I know something really kind of good's coming. I really buckle in and listen to what Jack has to say, and that belies the his years. It's really like I take what Jack has to say very, very seriously. And the second quality I want to rejoice in is his kind of open-heartedness. His kind of I want to say innocence. So that could have kind of, it's not very fashionable to be innocent in today's world, but what I mean by that is he has a kind of receptivity. There's an openness. He wants to hear what people have to say. He wants to understand what they have to say, and he wants to be able to respond to that, not with like too many preconceived ideas. He wants to kind of meet that, and then there's this flow of kind of curiosity and exploration, and there's this open, lovely, wonderful quality of openness and non-cynicism. It's such a delight to meet a man that doesn't seem to hold any value in cynicism. There's like I say, this wonderful openness and receptivity, particularly in response to the Dharma and the ideas of the Dharma, really, and meditation. And finally, his helpfulness. So Jack's just a very helpful man. He doesn't seem to make a song and dance about helping. He's actually agreed to help manage this transition from the online back into physical space. We'll be looking after a lot of our online activities, and he came in, to talk about that, and all he wanted less than minimum wage. We couldn't believe it. He's just so, like I'm sure, hopefully we are going to pay at least minimum wage.
We'll think about it.
But there was just this openness to wanting to help, if he could. We will pay more than minimum wage. But I feel really confident in Jack taking that on, because he'll bring his brand of curiosity, his brand of helpfulness and generosity to bear on that. And I just think that everybody in our study group, I hope, well, I'm sure all tuning in, will bear witness to the generosity and nurturing of the atmosphere amongst these men that Jack has. He has this effect on the atmosphere which enlivens and unifies. So what a boon to welcome Jack into the Mitra Sangha of Brixton, and personally, well, just so delighted to welcome you in, and that you're taking this this step into spiritual commitment towards the Three Jewels. So yeah, very well done. Okay, and you guys as well. So, yeah, I'll just pass over to Renata for any further rejoicings.
Thank you much, Renara. Always very full. Yeah, always very full. Thank you. Yep, so a few for Jack. David says, where is he? Man with clarity and vision, commitment and courage, from David. And Graham says, Jack, I rejoice in your keen wit and sharp intellect. So it's also a few other, lots of general rejoicings as well, but another one for Francis. Where'd that go? Gina. Francis, I rejoice in your authenticity and boldness, generosity, and how you put people at ease with your gentle lovingness. And then Laura, Angela Miles, loud sadhus, my dear friend, rejoicing in your laughter and love for all beings. Yeah, so lots of people out there wishing you all three well. Okay, good. So let's enter the ceremonial part, the ceremonial phase. So let's just get settled for that, and we'll just I'll give it a few minutes, and then maybe a minute or so, and then I'll just begin. And so yeah, we'll just do it in call and response, except for the Heart Sutra, which those of you who know it can join in, but otherwise you can just listen. And so we'll have, after the first verse, we'll have a mantra where you can make offerings. So we'll have the salutation verse, then the Mitra ceremonies, and then we'll proceed through the rest of the puja as normal, with sitting quietly at the end as well. So let's gather ourselves, let's collect ourselves, let's bring these three Mitras to be into mind, Francis, Jack and Laura, and wish them well on their steps towards deeper spiritual commitment, spiritual engagement. Sevenfold Puja with Mitra ceremonies. Firstly, worship. With Mandarava, blue lotus and jasmine.
With Mandarava, blue lotus and jasmine.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages.
So worthy of veneration.
So worthy of veneration.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
Sweet and penetrating.
Sweet and penetrating.
I make them offerings of food hard and soft.
I make them offerings of food hard and soft.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
Festooned with golden lotus.
festooned with golden lotus,
on the paving sprinkled with perfume.
on the paving sprinkled with perfume.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
Mani Padme Hum. Om 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 Mani Padme Hum.
Salutation. As many atoms as there are
As many atoms as there are
in the 1,000,000,000 worlds,
in the 1,000,000,000 worlds,
so many times I make reverent salutation
so many times I make reverent salutation
to all the Buddhas of the three eras,
to all the Buddhas of the three eras,
to the Dharma,
to the Dharma,
and to the excellent community.
and to the excellent community.
I pay homage to all the shrines
I pay homage to all the shrines
and places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
and places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers
I make profound obeisance to the teachers
and those to whom respectful salutation is due.
and those to whom respectful salutation is due.
So now we come to the Mitra ceremonies, where I'll invite each person in turn to come up to the shrine and make their 3 ritual offerings, at which point there will be a Mitra within the Triratna Buddhist community, recognised worldwide. Any Buddhist centre they walk into, they'll be recognised as a Mitra. So we'll do it in alphabetical order. So to start with, I'm going to invite Francis to come up. then Jack. And then Laura. So there we have the three newest Mitras of the Triratna Buddhist community, so Francis, Jack and Laura. So we can celebrate that with three spoken sadhus, three gentle sadhus, which means well done, hurrah, congratulations. So sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Great. So now we'll continue with the puja, and we'll do the refuges and precepts now. Again, let's do it spoken. But for the three mitras, the three new mitras, this will be the first time they've done the refuges and precepts as a mitra, so particularly significant for them. Going for refuges first. This very day,
This very day,
I go for my refuge,
I go for my refuge,
to the powerful protectors,
to the powerful protectors,
whose purpose is to guard the universe,
whose purpose is to guard the universe,
the mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
the mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
In the Dharma they have ascertained,
In the Dharma they have ascertained,
which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Likewise in the host of bodhisattvas,
Likewise in the host of bodhisattvas,
I take my refuge.
I take my refuge.
Namo tassa,
Namo tassa,
bhagavato arahato,
bhagavato arahato,
samma sambuddhassa.
samma sambuddhassa,
Namo tassa,
namo tassa,
bhagavato arahato,
bhagavato arahato,
samma sambuddhassa.
samma sambuddhassa,
Namo tassa,
namo tassa,
bhagavato arahato,
bhagavato arahato,
samma sambuddhassa.
samma sambuddhassa,
Buddhang saranang gacchami,
buddhang saranang gacchami,
dhammang saranang gacchami,
dhammang saranang gacchami,
sanghang saranang gacchami,
sanghang saranang gacchami,
dujampi buddhang saranang gacchami,
dujampi buddhang saranang gacchami,
dachampi dhammang saranang gacchami,
dujampi dhammang saranang gacchami,
dujampi sanghang saranang gacchami,
dujampi sanghang saranang gacchami,
dachampi buddhang saranang gacchami,
dujampi buddhang saranang gacchami,
dachampi dhammang saranang gacchami,
dujampi dhammang saranang gacchami,
dachampi sanghang saranang gacchami,
dujampi sanghang saranang gacchami,
panatipata,
panatipata,
veremini,
veremini,
sekapadam,
sekapadam,
samadhyami,
samadhyami,
adinadana,
adinadana,
veremini,
veremini,
sekapadam,
sekapadam,
samadhyami,
samadhyami,
kamesu,
kamesu,
mechachara,
mechachara,
veremini,
veremini,
sekapadam,
sekapadam,
samadhyami,
samadhyami,
musavada,
musavada,
veremini,
veremini,
sekapadam,
sekapadam,
samadhyami,
samadhyami,
suramarya,
suramarya,
maja,
maja,
pamadatana,
pamadatana,
veremini,
veremini,
sekapadam,
sekapadam,
samadhyami,
samadhyami,
sadhu,
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 sadhu.
sadhu.
With deeds of loving kindness,
with deeds of loving kindness.
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With open-handed generosity,
With open-handed generosity.
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With stillness, simplicity, and contentment,
With stillness, simplicity, and contentment.
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With truthful communication,
With truthful communication.
I purify my speech.
I purify my speech.
With mindfulness clear and radiant,
With mindfulness clear and radiant.
I purify my mind.
I purify my mind.
Confessions of faults. The evil that I have heaped up
The evil that I have heaped up
through my ignorance and foolishness,
through my ignorance and foolishness,
evil in the world of everyday experience,
evil in the world of everyday experience,
as well as evil in understanding and intelligence.
as well as evil in understanding and intelligence.
All that I acknowledge to the protectors,
All that I acknowledge to the protectors,
standing before them,
standing before them,
with hands raised in reverence,
with hands raised in reverence,
and terrified of suffering.
and terrified of suffering.
I pay salutations again and again.
I pay salutations again and again.
May the leaders receive this kindly,
May the leaders receive this kindly,
just as it is with its many faults.
just as it is with its many faults.
What is not good, O protectors,
What is not good, O protectors,
I shall not do again.
I shall not do again.
Rejoicing in merit. I rejoice with delight
I rejoice with delight
in the good done by all beings,
in the good done by all beings,
through which they obtain rest,
through which they obtain rest,
with the end of suffering.
with the end of suffering.
May those who have suffered be happy.
May those who have suffered be happy.
I rejoice in the release of beings
I rejoice in the release of beings
from the sufferings of the rounds of existence.
from the sufferings of the rounds of existence.
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva
and the Buddha,
and the Buddha,
who are protectors.
who are protectors.
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlightenment
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlightenment
and the teaching,
and the teaching,
those oceans that bring happiness to all beings
those oceans that bring happiness to all beings,
and are the abode of welfare of all beings.
and are the abode of welfare of all beings.
Entreaty and supplication. Saluting them with folded hands,
Saluting them with folded hands,
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma
for those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
for those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
With hands folded in reverence,
With hands folded in reverence,
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
May they remain here for endless ages,
May they remain here for endless ages,
so that life in this world does not grow dark.
so that life in this world does not grow dark.
So now I'll invite Daisy to come up and give us a reading from the Dharmapada.
The section of flowers, Sangharachita. Who shall conquer this earth and the realm of death and its deities? Who shall make out well-taught verses of truth as an expert picks flowers. The learner, the transcendental path, shall conquer earth and the realm of death with all its deities. The learner shall make out the well-taught verses of truth as an expert picks flowers. Seeing the body as froth and thoroughly comprehending its mirage nature, let one proceed unseen by the king of death having broken the flowery shafts of Mara. As a great flood carries away a sleeping village, so death bears off man who, possessed of longing, plucks only the flowers of existence. The destroyer brings under his sway the man who, possessed by longing, plucks only the flowers of existence, who is insatiate in passions. Let the silent sage in the village, as the bees go taking honey from the flower, without harming colour or fragrance. One should pay no heed to the faults of others, what they have done or not done. Rather should one consider the things that one has itself done and not done. Like a beautiful flower brightly coloured but without scent, even so useless is the well-uttered speech of one who does not act accordingly. Like a beautiful flower brightly coloured and scented, even so useful is the well-uttered speech of one who acts accordingly. As many garlands are made from a heap of flowers, so one is a mortal born should perform many ethical skillful deeds. The fragrance of flowers, of sandalwood, of aroma resin or jasmine does not go against the wind, whereas the fragrance of the good does go against the wind. Sandalwood and aromatic resin, blue lotus or wild jasmine, of all these kinds of fragrance the odour of virtue is unsurpassed. Insignificant in passion is the fragrance of aromatic resin and sandalwood, the fragrance of virtue. It is that blows among the gods as the highest. Mara does not find the path of those who are virtuous, who live mindfully, and who are freed through perfect knowledge. As pink lotuses, sweet-scented and lovely, spring from a heap of rubbish thrown on the highway. So among rubbishy beings, among ignorant worldlings, the discipline of the perfectly awakened one shines forth exceedingly in wisdom.
The Heart Sutra.
The Bodhisattva of compassion, when he meditated deeply, saw the emptiness of all five skandhas and sundered the bonds that caused him suffering. Here then, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is only emptiness, emptiness only form. Feeling, thought and choice, consciousness itself, are the same as this. All things are by nature void. They are not born or destroyed, nor are they stained or pure, nor do they wax or wane. So, in emptiness, no form, no feeling, thought or choice, nor is there consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no colour, sound, smell, taste, touch, or what the mind takes hold of, nor even act of sensing, no ignorance or end of it, nor all that comes of ignorance, no withering, no death, no end of them. Nor is there pain or cause of pain, or cease in pain or noble path to lead from pain, not even wisdom to attain. Attainment too is emptiness. So know that the Bodhisattva, holding to nothing whatever, but dwelling in prajna wisdom, is freed of delusive hindrance, rid of the fear bred by it, and reaches clearest nirvana. All Buddhas of past and present, Buddhas of future time, using this prajna wisdom, come to full and perfect vision. Hear then the great Dharani, the radiant peerless mantra, the pranya paramita, whose words allay all pain. Hear and believe its truth. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhiswaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhiswaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhiswaha.
Transference of merit and self-surrender. May the merit gained
May the merit gained
in my acting thus
in my acting thus
go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
My personality throughout my existences.
My personality throughout my existences.
My possessions.
My possessions.
And my merit in all three ways.
And my merit in all three ways.
I give up without regard to myself.
I give up without regard to myself.
For the benefit of all beings.
For the benefit of all beings.
Just as the earth and other elements.
Just as the earth and other elements.
Are serviceable in many ways.
Are serviceable in many ways.
To the infinite number of beings.
To the infinite number of beings.
Inhabiting limitless space.
Inhabiting limitless space.
So may I become.
So may I become.
That which maintains all beings.
That which maintains all beings.
Situated throughout space.
Situated throughout space.
So long as all have not attained.
So long as all have not attained.
To peace.
To peace.
Om Mahum Vaja Guru Padma Siddhi Hum. 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 Om Mahum Vaja Guru Padma Siddhi Padma Siddhi Om Mahum Vaja Guru Padma Siddhi Padma Siddhi Om Mahum Vaja Guru Padma Siddhi Padma Siddhi Om Mahum Vaja Guru Padma Siddhi Om Mahum Vaja Guru Padma Siddhi 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 Padma Siddhi
Swaha.
Om Tare to Tare to Re Swaha.
Om Amideva Hri.
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 Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hum.
Om Om Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Om.
Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hum.
Om Om Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Om.
Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hum.
Om Om Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Om.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Arasangate Bodhi Swaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Arasangate Bodhi Swaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Arasangate Bodhi Swaha.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
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 concludes our ceremony. So all that's left is for us to congratulate the Mitras and also to bestow upon them the gifts that the Sangha has provided or has offered up for them. So we've got 3 gift givers in the audience who's going to give you the gifts. So Mitra, Nara, Charlotte and Daisy, if you could present the gifts to the Mitras, that would be great. It's quite a haul. So I think it expresses how much the Sangha cares for, well, you and for one another, given how many gifts they provided for you. So there you go, you may enjoy your gifts. And we may not be able to shout celebration, but we can still make noise. So I would invite everyone with a musical instrument to make as much noise as possible to celebrate our new Mitras.